Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and with the NBA preseason having just gotten started, we're all getting a chance to see many players in their new jerseys for the first time after having switched teams this offseason. And for some of them, it can be quite a shock to see them in colors that we aren't accustomed to. Whether it be DeMar DeRozan as a Spur or Kawhi Leonard as a Raptor, or even more jarring, Tony Parker as a Hornet and LeBron James as a Laker, it can be a weird experience to see famous players in strange new jerseys. That feeling that I got when I saw guys like LeBron and Parker in their new colors inspired me to take a look back at 10 players from NBA history that, for one reason or another, suited up for a franchise that not only have most of us completely forgotten that they even played for, but just flat out look strange wearing the jerseys. Let's go ahead and get started. Number 1. Scottie Pippen, Houston Rockets. Considered by some to be the greatest sidekick in NBA history, the first jersey that comes to mind for every NBA fan when they think of Scottie Pippen is the number 33 for the Chicago Bulls. Secondary to that, some fans can probably place him in a Portland Trail Blazers jersey as he wound down his Hall of Fame career in his mid to late 30s. But what many probably don't remember is his 50-game stint with the Houston Rockets in the 1998-99 season. Following the completion of the Bulls' second three-peat in 1998, head coach Phil Jackson resigned, Michael Jordan retired once again, and Pippen was traded away to the Rockets. What should have been a very successful situation alongside Charles Barkley and Hakeem Olajuwon simply never came together, and Pippen and Barkley had more than their fair share of chemistry issues, resulting in Pippen ultimately being traded to the Trailblazers following his lone season with the Rockets. Number 2. Dominique Wilkins, Orlando Magic. Probably one of the most overlooked legends in NBA history, Dominique Wilkins scored the large majority of his over 26,000 career points during his 12 seasons with the Atlanta Hawks from 1982 to 1994. However, there were actually a number of teams that I could have put next to his name on this list, as he was a bit of a basketball nomad in the twilight of his career. Between 1994 and 1999, Wilkins played for the Clippers, Celtics, a professional team in Greece, the Spurs, a professional team in Italy, and finally, for 27 games with the Orlando Magic as a 39-year-old. Like I said, this was really more of a pick one kind of entry, as Wilkins looks strange in any jersey that isn't his now retired number 21 for the Atlanta Hawks. But for me personally, the Magic jersey looks especially strange. Number 3. Patrick Ewing, Seattle Sonics. Next up is the only player in NBA history to have played in more than 1,000 games in a New York Knicks uniform, so it makes sense that we would all associate Patrick Ewing and his career to his number 33 Knicks jersey. But after 15 years in New York, the then 39-year-old was traded to the Sonics for, well, way more players and draft picks than he should have been traded for at that point in his career. He spent a year in Seattle before moving on to another team that was a weird look for him, the Orlando Magic. And after a year there, he decided to bring his 17-year career to a close. In the end, he played over 88% of his career games in a Knicks uniform, so to see him in anything different even late in his career is certainly a strange sight. Number 4. Dennis Rodman, LA Lakers. Moving on now, we have probably the most interesting character in NBA history, and a guy that is most associated with his time as a Detroit Piston and a Chicago Bull. Dennis Rodman's number 10 jersey has been retired by the Pistons, and he was a huge part of the Chicago Bulls' second three-peat, so it makes sense that those are the two sets of jerseys we have in mind first. Heck, maybe there are even a few superfans out there that remember his time with the Spurs in between his stints in Detroit and Chicago. But what about Dennis Rodman as an LA Laker? Just like with many of the key pieces of those Bulls teams, the franchise began getting rid of basically everyone after that 1998 season, including the release of Rodman. In the following lockout-shortened season, he played in just 23 games after signing with the Lakers, and then followed that up by ending his NBA career in 12 games for the Mavericks in the 1999 to 2000 season. Number 5. Allen Iverson, the Memphis Grizzlies. This is one that I bet a lot of you already knew about. After 10 incredibly successful seasons in Philadelphia, including winning the 2001 MVP, Allen Iverson began a nomadic journey to end his NBA career. He was traded to the Denver Nuggets in December of 2006 with the idea of creating a dynamic scoring duo with Carmelo Anthony, but that lasted less than 2 years before he was once again traded, this time to the Pistons. He played in 54 games with Detroit and ultimately signed a one-year deal with the Memphis Grizzlies in 2009. But not only is it just weird to see Iverson in a Grizzlies jersey, he barely even wore it himself. He appeared in just 3 games with Memphis before leaving the team due to his displeasure with being a bench player. and he eventually finished up his NBA career back in Philadelphia. Number 6, Rasheed Wallace, Atlanta Hawks. I will admit that as I was doing research for this video, this one even caught me off guard. In my mind, I picture Rasheed Wallace in a UNC jersey, a Portland Trail Blazers jersey, and of course, a Detroit Pistons jersey. I knew he bounced around to a few teams to finish out his career, but I had no idea that the Atlanta Hawks were one of those teams. After doing some research though, you can't really blame me, as Rasheed played exactly one game in a Hawks uniform. He was moved to Atlanta from Portland in February of 2004, and after just a single game, he was again traded, this time to the Pistons, where he became a key piece of that 2004 NBA championship winning Detroit team. I mean, I've heard of guys getting traded multiple times throughout the season, but to go and play with a team for one game and then go on to help a different team win a championship all within the same year is certainly unique. Number 7, Karl Malone, LA Lakers. For me, when I think of the Utah Jazz, historically, I think of Jerry Sloan, David Stockton, and Karl Malone. Stockton and Malone specifically are probably one of the most famous duos in NBA history, and all of those years they spent together with the Jazz ingrained that look in the minds of many fans. But just as with many NBA players, the draw of attempting to win a championship, especially their first, can bring them to strange places. For Malone, that place was the LA Lakers for the 2003-2004 season, his last in the NBA and only one in which he didn't play in Utah. Him and Gary Payton both went to LA late in their careers that season with the same goal of a championship in mind, but unfortunately for both of them, it didn't work out, as the previous entry on this list had a lot to do with that. The Detroit Pistons took down the preseason and postseason title favorite Lakers in the 2004 finals, leaving Malone without an NBA championship in his Hall of Fame career. Number 8, Shawn Kemp, Orlando Magic. I would assume that most fans associate Shawn Kemp's exciting career mostly with the Seattle Sonics, but he actually played for 4 different teams in his time in the NBA. After 8 years in Seattle, he was traded to the Cavaliers in 1997, and despite battling a number of issues, including being well over his usual playing weight, he was still a very productive player for much of his 3 seasons with the Cavs. He then went on to once again be traded, this time to Portland in 2000, a team from which he was waived just 2 years later. But to me, still the strangest jersey to see Kemp in is his final stop in the NBA, the Orlando Magic, in the 2002-2003 season as a 33-year-old. He helped the team reach the playoffs that season and played in his 1,000th career game, but that was ultimately where his NBA journey ended. And despite multiple reports of a handful of promising comeback attempts in the years following, the last image as fans we got of Shawn Kemp in the NBA was in an Orlando Magic jersey. Number 9, Robert Parish, Chicago Bulls. Robert Parish, Kevin McHale, Larry Bird, the Boston Celtics. That is, in many people's minds, the greatest frontcourt in NBA history, and a critical part of the proud history of the franchise. Parish won 3 of his 4 career championships in Boston, and all 9 of his career All-Star selections came in a Celtics 00 jersey, which has since been retired by the franchise. But after 14 years with the Celtics, he moved on to the Charlotte Hornets for 2 seasons, which is strange enough as it is, but then he spent his final season in the NBA as a 43-year-old as part of the 1996-1997 Chicago Bulls, winning his 4th and final NBA championship alongside Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan. It isn't so much the look of Parish in a Bulls jersey, although that is weird to see, it's just that while MJ and Pippen and all those guys are out there on the floor and running through the league, there's just Parish on the bench as a 43-year-old future Hall of Famer with over 23,000 career points to his name, just waiting out his last season in the NBA on the bench and winning a championship for his trouble. Number 10, Hakeem Olajuwon, Toronto Raptors. I would be willing to bet that less than 10% of you watching this video knew about this one, and I can fully admit that I had no idea before making this video. I know Hakeem Olajuwon as being a part of those great Houston teams back in his days in college, and of course as one of the greatest big guys of all time with the Houston Rockets. And across his 18 years in the league, he spent 17 of them with the Rockets. But in 2001, after contract negotiations between the two sides broke down, Hakeem was traded to the Toronto Raptors for draft picks, where as a 39-year-old he had, to nobody's surprise, the worst year of his NBA career, before retiring due to a back injury in 2002. Those classic-looking Raptors jerseys have such a definitive look to them, and we're so used to seeing certain guys in them. But to see Hakeem in anything other than a Rockets jersey, much less those late 90s, early 2000s Raptors uniforms, is one of, if not the strangest sights in this entire video. And that is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.